Okay, guys, welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans. Today's Tuesday, July 21st, 2020. My name's Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. My co-host today is Carol Ray, founder of Notary 2 Pro. Everybody knows Carol. Hey, Carol, thanks for being here. And of course, Laura Biewer will be with us shortly. She's teaching today, so she probably just got off for her lunch break and will join us in about 10 or 15 minutes. Carol, thank you. And what are you excited about this week?
Oh, I never think about what I'm excited about. I'm actually excited because we've got a lot of wonderful, wonderful students. A little bit leery because about 25% of them are out in the world working today, but they're taking care of themselves. Knock on wood, we've had everybody keeping themselves safe and healthy, and that's the way we want them to be.
Absolutely. Lots of good stuff. And in fact, you've got another surprise today too, right? We're giving away a prize?
Yeah, a Fire tablet.
Awesome. I love those Amazon Fire tablets. That's one of my favorite things. I tell people all the time, if my house ever burned down, it would be my Kindle that I save, and of course my dogs. And that's about it. I love my Kindle.
I've been using it to watch Dish, you know, when I'm like someplace in the house where I don't have a TV, but the audio books I'm looking forward to. They've got my favorite author.
Okay, who's your favorite author?
I can't think of his name, but he's
Grisham. John. You know his face when you see it.
No, John Grisham. I've read all of his books over the years, but there's a couple of new ones now. So yeah, John Grisham.
Fantastic. All right, guys, if you want to register right now to win the Amazon Fire tablet from Carol Ray and Notary 2 Pro, all you have to do is register at notarycoach.com/prize. I put the link in the chat window. We will draw for that today at the end after questions. And we'll get right into questions right now. And then as soon as Laura comes on, she's got a huge announcement, if you haven't heard the news already, on her symposium event. So we'll let her share that in just a few minutes. Let's dive in here. John, I see your hand up. I don't have a last name for you, but you're at the top of the list for your hands up. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I have my first split loan signing tomorrow. So, and I was reading over and I just want to make sure I understand it. I'm going to be the second notary in a two-person signing chain. So as I understand it, the previous notary should have, if the other person wasn't there, should have crossed out the person who wasn't there. And I will be, if the company doesn't supply it, I will be supplying my own notarial certificates. And that's how I'm understanding how this is handled. Is there any more I should know about it? Or they say when I read about it, they say it's a relatively simple thing, but it seems like there's some things that could trip you up on it.
Yeah, totally. They are simple. They're pretty common. And I know Carol has some great advice on this. Carol, can you just give him some pointers on what to look for?
Yeah, if you were just talking to me, it kind of cut out there for a minute. Yeah,
and I'm in California too, by the way. Sorry. Excuse me.
Oh, okay. So split signings are really easier than what everybody thinks, but there is a couple things you need to watch out for. Since you are the second notary, you are absolutely correct. You're going to be the one that's going to most likely attach the notarial certificates to all of the documents. When you get them from the other notary, though, the one thing I warn my students about is it's really important, is that other notary must have lined through the name of the party who's appearing before you. And if they don't do that, you can't approach the other notary. The best thing to do is to call whoever has hired you, the title company, the signing service, and let them know immediately when you get those documents that notary did not do that, because this is something that can hold up the signings. One of the things that I have to emphasize is that you own your notarial certificates. Nobody else is allowed to touch them. Every once in a while, a title company might write to you and say, there's a little mistake. Can we do this? And you send it back in writing, yes, you can make the change. But normally, those certificates belong to you, as they do that other notary. So nobody can just call that notary and say, oh, you didn't do this. We do it. They have to handle it with that notary. You could hold up the funding if this isn't taken care of. So when you get the documents, you're going to treat them just as if you only have the one signer in front of you, just as you would anything else. But the likelihood is that the other notary would have used up the certificates, which means you're going to have to provide California compliant, especially certificates to it.
Okay, thank you.
Carol.
Hi,
Sorry.
Sebastian, hold on real quick. I just want to touch on John's question real quick. John, the only other advice I would offer is because when you're the second notary, it can be really confusing looking at the signatures. It's real easy to miss signatures, miss notary blocks, especially when you're adding a loose certificate. So really quadruple check your documents. I'm big on quadruple checks, but this would be a time to not skip that fourth time.
Got it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, John. Have a good one.
You too.
Great question.
All right, Bill.
I'm sorry, Sebastian. How's it going?
That's good. I actually had a split signing today, and I was the second signer. The first signing was in Colorado, and I'm here in Texas. But when I came across the documents, it looks like the first notary actually used attached loose. She kind of went back and forth. She used some of the certificates that were already here, and then she attached loose certificates for others. And there was no rhyme or reason to it, but does that matter if she switches back and forth?
Well, it's certainly confusing, but did she make the alterations to the certificate so you can actually use them? Did she strike through the person that was actually appearing before you?
Yeah, she did strike through that person, and where I needed to, I added my own certificate to add him back on, but it was it's confusing because it like for some of the signatures, she just used the certificate that they provided. And then others, she didn't use what they provided, but she just attached a loose certificate. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. And so I was just like, is that normal, or is that just kind of?
That's not normal, I would say, but I would definitely just in your follow-up, like I'd like to follow up after the signing, once everything's complete, just so, if it's to the closing agent or the signing company, and just give them an overview of how things went. And, oh, by the way, I noticed that the first notary alternated between loose certificates and the document certificates. So I just wanted to point that out to you, and I filled in those gaps wherever it is. Just something that's solution oriented, proactive.
Okay. Thank you so much, both of you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for chiming in. Mm-hmm. Martha Hinnant, thank you for being here. You want to unmute and ask your question?
Hello, I'm from North Carolina, so who knows what we are out here. But I was a notary way back in the 80s, so a lot has changed since then. But I'm, because of COVID, I'm just now gaining access to taking my course to get commissioned this week. So hopefully the colleges stay open. But in the book that I'm reading, it states that the notaries are not authorized to charge the borrowers, buyers, grantors a higher fee than the limit of $5 per signature when performing notarizations. And they are not authorized to charge travel or mileage expenses to their clients. So if you're doing general notary work and or loan signings, can you not recoup your mileage and any other expenses? Is that what that's saying?
Martha, thank you so much for bringing that up. And I know this is very specific to North Carolina, so I just want to point that out. North Carolina only. This is probably, when it comes to general notary work, the most strict state. I mean, they really tried to close any opportunity that a notary has to charge above that $5. It is a challenge. I can tell you that there's an organization of notaries in North Carolina working to get the laws or the legislation changed on that. And actually Laura Biewer is an active participant in helping that too. So she might be able to speak to that a little bit too. The other thing I really want to point out is that there is a definite difference between the general notary work and loan signings. So on loan signings, you can absolutely be a loan signing agent in North Carolina and charge whatever the going rate is there. Because remember, as a loan signing agent, you're being compensated for way more than just the notarization component. you are being compensated for travel, for printing, for the paper, for presenting the documents and briefly describing them, and then making sure that the documents get delivered however the lender or the signing company is requiring that. So that is a separate charge. So you're free to go as far as that's concerned. It's only on the general notary work where they got you handcuffed right now.
Yeah, well, North Carolina's, yeah. What can I say?
I'm sorry, Carol, what were you going to say on that?
We have graduates in Georgia, North Carolina, other states that are attorney states too, and they're doing very well. And yes, they are allowed to take the fee that is offered them as an independent contractor doing loan signings.
So you're saying that North Carolina is an attorney state?
Not necessarily.
No, but there are attorney states where they're limited. Georgia is another one that limits the amount that they can earn as doing general notary work. There's several states that are very limited, but people are still doing it, doing loan signings successfully, making good money.
When Laura had given her seminar a time back when she was doing the journal entries, she had said that she put like the $5 for every notarial act that you did and then just made it work out. So you would do the same thing here under a loan signing?
You have a couple different options. Yeah. So, and Laura's on right now. Laura, you want to come on and talk about North Carolina and loan signings in the journal entry?
Well, we know every state is different. So if North Carolina is a state that does not require the journal, it's only recommended, then she could do the fees any way she wants. There is she can put one fee, loan docs, she can break it out however she likes. It's only in the states where it's required that we have to follow how the fees are recorded.
Oh, okay. Now that you say that, I remember hearing you say that. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, guys.
Right. Thanks, Martha. Laura, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
I know you've got a limited schedule today. Would you like to tell us what's going on with you and what's new for Symposium?
Yeah. So if some of you may have received our email blast, if you're on our email list for Notary Symposium. This year, we pivoted to virtual, and we found a way to make it live interactive sessions rather than pre-recorded, which is what the NNA did, and they did it very well. But it does lack the ability to ask questions real time and talk with your attendees. So we found 5 brand new speakers, brand new topics. We are going to have breakout rooms where you actually get to be with 4 to 6 people rather than the 250 that we're anticipating to be part of our symposium this year. We do have a virtual event designer who joined our team this year to help us ensure the networking continues. We've got the Wheel of Prizes that's going to be sponsored by Notary Coach. Thank you, Bill. And he's going to be our own special genie, gift genie this year. And we will be sending out welcome boxes to everyone who registers in time. And so if you want to sign up for that, because once the seats are gone, early bird right now is $69. You can go to notarysymposium.com to register and check out all the topics and the speakers. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. So very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm real excited for you too, Laura. And I just really appreciate being able to be involved with that and doing the part I love, which is really just talking to people and then giving away prizes. That's really my role for Symposium. And I'm so excited. And I've got my notebook ready. Every time I participated in the last 2, I have notebooks full of notes on everything that I've learned there too. So this is awesome. I put a link in the chat window for you as well.
And today, by the way, I didn't say, is National Notary Day, which is November 7th. We're going to have a virtual happy hour the night before and a margarita party at the end.
Yes. Looking forward to it. I've already bought my margarita glass. All right. Thank you so much for that. And guys, like I said, there's a link in the chat window for you as well. So let's get back to questions. Cassie Creech, thank you so much for being here. What state are you in and what is your question?
Hi there. I am from Virginia, and I had a question for everyone, but specifically Laura. I posted a question yesterday that Laura chimed in on, and I appreciated it. It was in reference to, I had a signing yesterday, and the documents in the package had quite a few documents that required notarization, but they had oath wording at the top of the document saying that the signers had, were given an oath, had taken an oath. And then in the actual notary certificate at the bottom, it was an acknowledgement certificate that specifically said, and who did not take an oath.
Mhm.
So I posed the question, how to handle it. And I got various answers. Some were, it's not our job to decipher, what notary act we perform. And so Laura chimed in and said that that she didn't know what state I was in because I didn't put it, but that she would strike through the word not for the oath part and complete the certificate. So I just wanted to follow up on that and ask if, am I choosing by striking through the word not, am I actually making a choice there? And could I have added a jurat? I get a lot of these in Virginia, and I don't know if other people notice it, but it seems like when I post questions, a lot of people don't even realize that the oath wording is there, and they just complete the certificate. And so, and I've talked to you before, Laura, and it's just, I'm still really confused about it.
That's all right. So there are loan signing documents in some states where within the document itself, they've kind of buried the oath. It will say words like duly sworn and deposed before me, and me is the notary, meaning they needed to say something that was truthful, a promise of truthfulness, which is fine. If that's all it is, we could either add a jurat to that, or in your case, there was a second act. So they wanted two different things to happen. One is they wanted the signer to swear that was their name. I think that was a name affidavit, was the particular document. But they, in addition to that, they wanted an acknowledgement of the signature, and the acknowledgement does not have an oath. Hence the words did not take an oath. The did not take the oath had to do with the acknowledgement, not with the oath above. It's two separate acts happening in the same document. So you're not choosing anything. You give an oath. Do you swear, that this is truthful? And then the second part is acknowledging the signature to the document. It's just how they worded it. And if you're in a state with mandated language like Florida, that acknowledgement wouldn't work. And you'd have to replace it with your own. Then you'd have to give a separate oath. And there are two different notarial acts happening. If you're in a state where you can use everybody's wording, you could strike the word not so that it says you did give an oath, you acknowledged and you gave an oath, which kind of makes it two acts in the same certificate, and you're just pulling down the oath from above down below. And that would work for most notaries, just not California and Florida.
Okay, because I did look at our handbook, and it said that we don't have any specific wording for the jurat certificate. So, but
it's not. I wouldn't just attach a jurat because they didn't just want the oath; they wanted acknowledgement of the signature. That's why I recommended strike the word not, so it says they acknowledged and took an oath. If you struck the word not, now you have two different things going on in the same certificate.
I understand. And I would put two separate notarial acts in my journal.
Yeah, because there were two different acts. really.
Right.
You're just
Okay.
accommodating using their wording.
Okay.
And you're not
And-
choosing the acknowledgement and choosing the jurat. Both instructions are on the document for you.
Right. Okay. Okay. And the other second to that is that we have these, and I guess a lot of states have them, the short forms that you can use.
Mm-hmm.
And for the acknowledgments, you know, they have one for an individual and a corporation. And with all of them, I noticed that they don't ask for proof of how you took their identification.
Mm-hmm.
So are those forms assuming that you know that person? Is that why, like I'm looking at one here, it's acknowledgement for an individual, and it has the state and the city, and then it says the foregoing instrument was acknowledged before me on this day by, you know, person acknowledged,
Right.
and then it just has my notary information, but it doesn't say anything about how I ID'd them. So are they assuming that, you know, it's by personal knowledge?
Well, 49 states allow for personal knowledge, but I would say if it's not identifying satisfactory evidence when you're not using personal knowledge, I'd be replacing that because you
Right.
need to certify this is what you did.
Correct. Okay. Sorry about my dogs. Thank you so much. You really helped.
All right. Great,
Okay.
Cassie. Great question. There's a lot of murkiness in what we do for sure.
Yeah, and I
Right.
am seeing, just as a follow-up, because there was another one that was about the passport for a minor application that I answered today. And people were responding with you know, just add an acknowledgement or make them tell you the instructions are on the form. We need to learn how to look for them. In the where the signature is for the non-traveling parent, it says sign in front of a notary. There's clue 1. And then there's an oath for them to take. There's clue number 2. What notarial act requires an oath and you have to watch them sign? The jurat. So why would you attach an acknowledgement? Or why would you ask them what to attach? The instructions are there for us. We need to be willing to look a little bit more to understand what we're doing so that we don't create a problem for them by putting an acknowledgement and then it gets rejected.
Right. That's huge. You know, if we do slow down just a little bit and read the documents, a lot of the instructions or the clues will be in there for us. And it's understandable why so many notaries are kind of hands off with it, because we don't want to we don't even want to approach that line of
Right.
legal advice and things. But just if you have to slow down, it's totally okay to read the document. One thing that I did is I used to start asking people to send me the documentation ahead of time. Like if they've got it, downloaded it from online, send it to me so I could read it in advance. And then I would have a better understanding of what I was stepping into. And I could read that without the pressure of them sitting there staring at me too. So, Deborah asked, are we giving away a bag and a printer this year at Symposium? I am giving away all kinds of stuff. I mean, seriously, guys, really awesome prizes at Symposium there. It's going to be huge. And I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. Okay, Mike Howard, thank you so much for your patience. Would you like to unmute and ask your question? What state are you in, first of all, even though I know?
I'm in Arizona. Good afternoon, everyone. Quick question. I've had a few documents where the venue will be up at the top of the document, and then when it comes down to the place for me to sign, it doesn't say state and county. So I've been handwriting that in, and I was wondering, is it okay if the venue is at the top, my signature is at the bottom? And then the last part of that question, the way the notarial certificate is worded, it says, since it's the effective, acknowledged by the person therein
And first said state.
signing in the document. So do I need to still find a way to put their name in that notarial certificate the way it's worded, or can I just leave it as it is, if that makes sense?
Laura, do you want to take that one?
Well, I want to make sure I understood the first part about the venue, right positioning of the venue.
Correct.
The venue comes at the top. Typically, it comes at the top. There are some states that put it at the top of the document rather than at the top of the notarial wording. And for a state that doesn't have mandated language, that's fine.
Okay.
But if it's a mandated state like California or Florida, then it's not okay. I don't know what state you're in.
Arizona.
Arizona.
He
So
announced that, yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, I missed that part. So anyways, it may be just fine for it to be positioned in different places as long as you don't have mandated requirements.
Okay.
The second part, and I'm sorry, I'm going to need you to repeat what the question was
Sure.
about the second
So
part.
in the notarial certificate, it just says acknowledged by person
Yeah.
therein discussed in the document. It doesn't actually list their name. So do I
Yeah.
need to go ahead and list it, or can I?
I would replace it just for standard of care, because then they could use it for anybody.
Right.
If they didn't put a place to name the person, I have concerns about that. I'm not saying it'd be illegal to use it. I'm just saying as you open the door for
Yeah.
fraud.
Well,
That's been
also,
my concern.
and on these types of documents, though, Mike, that I've noticed, because a lot of our lenders here in Arizona do this, their name is therein. It's literally typed at the beginning, like the notarial certificate is taking up the entire page. So their name is typed, listed, and then it says the named therein. So that's referring to the person that's typed into that document. So it's usually okay that way, unless you want to, but that standard of care, you can go above and beyond too.
Yeah, there are
Thank you very much.
affidavits that are full on notarial certificates. So
Yeah.
it's confusing. Do they change the property address, state and county at the top, and only change the venue, which is at the bottom? Because the whole thing really appears to be a notarial certificate, the way it's set up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, no problem, Mike. Great question. Thank you. Emily, thank you for being here. What state are you in, and what is your question?
I'm in California.
All right.
Okay. In California, every notarial act has to be recorded in the journal on a separate line. When doing a loan packet where the notary certificates are mixed in, how do you incorporate them so that the signing goes smoothly?
Great question, and I'm going to preface before I let Laura or Carol jump in here. We have done an amazing, Laura did an amazing training on this very topic on journals, and we've got it on YouTube. I'll be happy to send it out. Maybe I'll even attach it with this replay that will go into detail on that. And then Laura or Carol, would you like to share any insight about how you do it, how you make it more efficient in California?
So, you know, you always have to look for the bright side of things with COVID. And I changed my process. I used to just, I had papers going back and forth, and I was trying to do certificates. What I do now is I take the second set of documents. I sit far away from my signer. They've got a set, I've got a set, and I'm instructing them what to do from there. And as they're looking, figuring out, you know, to sign their name, I am filling out the journal as I go. Now, I'm very familiar with the document. So as soon as I see the title, I know what I need to say. And so I'm introducing it. I'm telling them, hey, at the bottom on the right, you'll find a place to sign and or date. Then they're finding it. They're doing it. While they're doing that, I'm starting to record the journal. Then we're moving. Okay, and now the next document is, you know, your note. Here's what you need to do on page 3. You're going to be signing. And then while they're taking a moment, I'm writing it in. The documents are just flowing over. So how do I handle the certificates? The certificates, if it's a separate page, not on the signature page, I will fill out mine and I will give it to them to put into the pile. If the certificate is right below their signature, I let them keep moving. And at the end of the assignment, when they are signing my journal, I'm doing my QA, and that's when I fill out my certificates. So I minimize how many times documents have to get moved. And I'm done with my journal when they're done. Now we're switching places. I'm QAing documents, filling out certificates, and they're signing my journal. And if that's not enough for them, the CIP or verification information form is what I save for them to do at that time. And it cut about 10 minutes off of my signing time.
Okay, but how do you stamp with your notary stamp? Do you wait and do you do that at the end to notarize those certificates?
Okay, so what I said is that if the certificate is on a separate page from the signature, I notarize it right then and there, fill it out, stamp it, the whole 9 yards, and I hand it to them to put in the pile. Okay? If the certificate is right below the signature, I don't do anything. I wait till the end.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
No problem. And I posted that link to the journal training where we had about an hour and a half, and we really got into detail on some of that too, Emily, for you. And anybody else who'd like it, it's on the YouTube channel, so it's there for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Crystal, thanks for being here. Would you like to unmute and tell us what state you're in and what your question is?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm in Virginia. And I think I sent out a text last week that I had my first debt resolution presentation. Well, it did not happen. He rescheduled the first time, and then it was supposed to be today. They canceled it. But I do have a question. They sent me a test to take. I did take that, and I passed it. And they sent a script and also the PowerPoint presentation. Now with the script and the PowerPoint presentation, can I just get some input on how you all are doing it, since we can't sit beside them and read the PowerPoint? Should I make 2 copies of the PowerPoint and go through it, or should I just give them the PowerPoint and I read from the script, which is a little different, I found yesterday? So how are you all doing those?
Great question. And I'm going to open this up. Anybody who's doing debt resolutions right now in the chat window, please give some feedback on that in the chat so Crystal can get some information. But in a lot of ways, this works like loan signings too. There are some people who will sit at one end with a copy of the documents. The borrower will sit at another, and they do exactly that. You get to experiment and try, Crystal, with whatever works best for you and what's safe. I will just tell you that right now. So if that's the way that works and you flip through it and you can stay on track and they turn the page with you and you go through the script, then yeah, that would absolutely work. And anybody else who's got some input or opinions on that, type them into the chat window so Crystal can see those.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And then anybody who's, I see some people don't even know what a debt resolution is. That's cool. They actually come across kind of often when you're on SnapDocs and some of the other platforms like that. And if you're part of Sign and Thrive, Valerie Dennis and I did a presentation on them, so you know what to expect, what to look out for, why people love them, why people don't like them. That kind of stuff is in phase 3 non-loan services. All right, great.
I did look at that, and that was very helpful.
Great, Crystal, great. Thank you for the great question.
Sure.
All right, Katrina, thank you so much for being here. What state are you in, and what is your question?
Hi, I'm in Maryland, and I have a question more about like the ethics. I went and make sure I didn't cross the line, because you always talk about trying not to take business from your hiring company. So my hiring company sent me to a signing at a builder, and it went well. And the salesperson said, "Hey, I want you, you're great, you're wonderful. Are you available to take more signings with us here?" And I indicated that I wasn't hired directly by the title company, and I was hired by a third party. But she's like, "Great, give me your business card, and I will make sure that that you are, basically my closer from now on." And I just wanted to make sure that I didn't do anything wrong, as far as I wouldn't mind being a signer for a builder, especially since they're in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to also take money from like the company that hired me to go there in the first place. So I'm not sure, should I tell them or what?
Well, this is great, and I love that you're even thinking about ethics and integrity in this situation. I think this is really important. So, again, there's probably more details in there, but let's just do an overview, because this does happen when you show up to an appointment and you're awesome. People want to work with you, and that's just how this goes. So I love the way that you handled it. You said, I was not hired directly by the title company. I'm hired by this third-party company. So the first thing I would do is give them an opportunity to work with the signing company, maintain that relationship that they already have, because that signing company worked for that. Somebody went out and built that relationship. So they can still make you a preferred signer through that signing company. I get it all the time on my side too. They just love one particular notary, so that's who we send every time they have a signing, if that person's available. Then if that doesn't work, if they just say, we don't want to use that signing company anymore, I want to use you, there's not a whole lot that you can do about that. It's not like you're not really, it walks somewhat of a fine line, but you're not going to just turn down, you're not going to stop being of service. But you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. You don't want to take you got to think of the big picture. Like if I take this client, that hiring company is no longer going to work for me. So if they're pumping 60, 70 grand a year in business to me, and I do something that tarnishes that relationship, is this new client going to be worth it? Is that really worth that type of friction in there? So you always want to be thinking about that. Laura, Carol, do you have any input on that?
I personally agree with what you just said. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
I've had students in that situation. I tell them be very careful. Word spreads in this industry. It does. And you've got to be very careful to maintain the ethnicity of who you are and what you do, despite the fact that it's very tempting to do that. But you can work it out with the signing services or whoever hired you in the first place. And they're happy to have one person they know that is accepted and, revered by their customer.
Absolutely. Laura, anything further on that?
No, I think you guys covered it.
All right, great. Katrina, I think that really speaks to you though, and the way you show up. So awesome. Congratulations on that. And that just, what I encourage everybody to realize is that if that happens with one customer, it will happen to 100 customers down the road. So always remember that there's a customer looking for you and your amazingness in this business. And even if you were to say, no, I'm going to do the right thing and not go for the bigger money on this one, it opens up opportunity down the road. That's just how this universe works. It's amazing. Thank you, Katrina. Thanks for bringing that to the table. Kim Flanagan, thank you so much for being here. You want to tell everybody what state you're in and then ask your question.
Hello, I'm in California. Good to see you, Bill.
Yeah,
and
great to see you.
Thank you so much for your help this morning. I really appreciate it. I had a California DMV question that she was wonderful with. I just wanted to, I put my hand up because there was some chatting about the coast-to-coast lowball offers coming through, and I actually got an email from them that gave an explanation and a kind of a heads up that these would be coming. And if you wanted me, I can take just a second and read the email so people know what that's about.
Maybe just a summary of it. That would be great.
I'm just looking at it now, and it has to do with COVID. And it has to do, let's see, it has to do with partial claims that are coming through that help people from losing their homes. It's from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And it says, due to COVID, many homeowners do not want to lose their homes. So lenders like Quicken and many others are helping during this very difficult time. We've all been touched, blah, 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 blah. They realize that we're busy doing signings. They're not making any money on these. They're trying to help people from losing their homes. They understand if people don't want to take such lowball offers, and they can appreciate that. And they're saying you don't need to give us an explanation as to why you don't want it. They're not making any money on it. They are saying that it does help the title companies that they work with. So that's kind of a caveat. They're not making money on these, but it is because they're trying to give good service to the title companies. So that's kind of the gist. If anybody wants a copy of the email, I'd be glad to forward it to them. But they're just kind of reaching out saying, we're trying to help because of COVID. If you guys are able to help, we know it's low, but this is what the story is.
Yeah, exactly. I found that very helpful just to understand where they're coming from, and we don't have to get upset about it. We don't have to take it personally. It's just an appointment. If you're in a position where it makes sense for you, grab it. Some of those are right around the corner, and they're paying what, 30, sometimes people are talking them up to $50.
Yeah,
but,
and they did say, this is kind of interesting. It said it's for partial claims, and they said from a signing agent perspective, the package is about 10 to 15 pages.
Yeah. Pretty short and sweet.
I'd like to add something to that.
Sure.
The owner of Coast to Coast, her name is Lisa Bittner. She and I worked together many, many, many years. She owns SoCal Signings, and then she bought Coast to Coast. And even though they do have very low offers, if you're given something that really is a distance that you can, you can say, look, this is a half an hour drive each way. They will. I mean, I just talked to one of my graduates a couple days ago, and they had her going kind of a distance from her for a $30 signing, and they ended up paying her $150.
Wow.
Wow.
So you can negotiate. They will reasonably negotiate. Now, if you're going around the corner and you've got 15 pages, you know, $30, it's not much money, but shoot, you leave your house for half an hour and you're back home, you know, it might be worth it for the experience when you're new. But they will negotiate if they need you badly enough, just to know that.
Definitely. Kim, thank you so much for coming on to share that for those who don't get the coast to coast emails. That's great. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. Thank you. Nancy Huffaker, thank you so much for being here. Want to unmute, tell us what state you're from and ask your question.
I am from the sunshine state of Florida where it is pouring rain. I have two questions. One is very specific and I'm going to ask it anyway, although it may generalize out. I am new and I've only done about 12 signings. Almost all of them have been VA refis. And now I'm looking at a refi that I just printed, and it's a single borrower, but a married couple. She's holding title. And I'm looking at the mortgage signatures and it says borrower for both of them. Is she officially a borrower? Even though, because she's on the title, even though she's not one of the, not taking out the loan?
Is she on the 1003?
I haven't printed that out yet. She's on the mortgage as a title holder and she's a borrower on this, but she's not on anything else I've got so far. She's not on the closing disclosure. She's not on any of the affidavits.
The first thing to look at,
right counsel.
The first thing to look at when you get your package, if there's any question about it, is look at the 1003, the loan application. If there's only one borrower, then that is a non-borrowing spouse. That's your indication right there.
So the fact that it says borrower under it, if she's borrowing or not, really doesn't matter. It's just her name, and she's signing because she's on title, right?
It's boilerplate template. Yeah.
Boilerplate form.
Yeah.
Okay. My other question is something I have heard earlier, so maybe I heard it incorrectly. You were talking about a split signing and some loose acknowledgments and jurats and some that were not, and fixing the problem. Because I'm in Florida and we have that specific wording, I always end up with two piles of papers, one that has Florida wording, so I just use the one that's printed, and one that requires a loose jurat and a loose acknowledgement because it doesn't have Florida wording. Is that incorrect? Should I be using the loose ones on everything?
If it's non-compliant, you have to use.
If it's non-compliant, I use the loose ones.
Right.
But the ones that are compliant, I've been using. So I have some that are loose and some that are not. And I think I heard earlier that somebody was fixing the split signings because some were loose and some were not.
It was confusing for them, but my personal opinion is that if it's compliant, you can use them. And if it's not, you have to use a certification compliant.
Yeah, and that was a very specific situation too, Nancy, about a split signing. So I think that was just a confusion there. But it sounds like you got the system down there.
I got it. I have a stupid question regarding that though, because I have to scan back everything. I leave everything completely loose, and then after I scan it all back, I've been stapling them together. Is that correct?
Well, have you got any feedback?
Nothing.
That's
they're all the same signing service, an industrial signing service.
I recommend binder clips. They're great. Not rubber bands.
Binder clip?
Yeah, binder clips.
Okay.
A lot of them don't like. I'm surprised you haven't heard that they don't want staples.
Okay.
Most companies don't want that, but binder clips do very well.
Well, UPS today took all my binder clips off. I was a little upset about that. She said, no, we can't send them. They make the package, they don't make the package doesn't fit right.
Oh yeah, and they tear. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. But I would definitely, so when you think about the lifeline of a document package, when you send those in, the title company has to pull those all apart. They have to scan those into their own system. They have to scan them over to the lender. So that's causing a lot of work for somebody. So it's boiling up. I wouldn't do that, unless your state legally requires you, which I don't know of any state that does.
No. Actually, California does, but we don't for loan signing. So California actually specifies stapling.
Well, that's where I learned it.
Yeah, California does specify it. Of course, we're California. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I staple everything except for loan signings because I know what's going to happen. And that means that on my loose certificate, that I fill out that bottom optional section every single time. Yeah, that it belongs to this document.
Right. It belongs to this document. It's this many pages with this loose affidavit.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Great questions, Nancy. Thank you. Brandy Plummer, thank you so much for being here. You want to unmute, tell us your state, and ask your question.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, so we're catching me on a off day, so excuse my casual appearance. But I wanted to ask 2 questions. One is, it's seeming to me that everybody has a different way of doing the notice of right to cancel. Okay, so when I'm dealing with the signing service and they have not given me specific instructions about how many to return signed, I would like to know what you guys default to as your standard process. And what I mean by that is, obviously in my package, usually 2 or 3 come for one signer. And then they also have their set, right? And I was taught in one training, and I've taken multiple different trainings. One training said that you have 2 signed from your package, and then the 3rd from your package is also signed but given back to the borrower to go in their package, so that they officially have one that is shown signed, but it stays with them. So do you guys have a standard process that you do when you're not given specific instructions on the notice right to cancel?
Well, yes, and there's actually, it's a federal mandate or a federal law that they have to have 2 copies of the 2 copies per borrower left with them. So when you get 3, you have all 3 signed and dated. Remember, anything you leave with the borrower is worthless if it's not fully executed. So those 3 that are left in their package, that doesn't matter unless they're fully executed, meaning that they're signed, dated, initialed, changed, modified, whatever they are. That does not count if they're just left blank. So you've got to still have to leave 2 per borrower, and then you have to send 1 back with the lender so they have their copy. Now, I have had some lenders where they want all 3 copies returned. So I like to do that. So I'll just use all 3 copies that I leave with the borrower and their copies. We just pull them out and we sign 6 of them per person. Sign date, sign date, sign date, and then just leave them there. And then I send all the ones that the lender included back with them so that everything's covered.
Interesting. Okay, I'm so glad that you specified that. Okay, so standard practice, sign every single one. If they don't give me specific instructions on wanting all 3 back, you would say send 2 back with them and then sign all 3 back with them and then sign all 3 that are also in their package.
As a best practice, I would have all of them signed and then leave all 3. But just remember, the rule is that 2 signed copies, 2 fully executed copies have to be left with each borrower. And you know, sometimes both borrowers are on one right to cancel. Sometimes there's 1 per borrower. So whatever that happens to be. And then, but just as a best practice, because I don't want to go back out if the lender says, hey, we wanted all 3 of those returned to us. I'd overkill on that one. But before, I'd love to hear some feedback too. Laura, do you do things any differently than that?
No, every time I have all of them, however many there are. I don't care if there's 10 of them in there. They're going to sign every one. We're going to modify every one, whatever has to be done. I return per the instructions if I'm given any. If there's no instructions, the default is they get 1 and all the rest stay there. If I have instructions that say I want 5 of them, then they're going to get 5 and the borrower's going to get 5. But I never leave a right to cancel undone because, like Bill said, it doesn't count, it doesn't help. And what if they start writing other stuff in there that's different than the ones we executed?
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's on purpose or accident.
Very true. Right.
Dangerous.
Okay.
I remember the days when they used to send us 12, 15 of them. We're like, what are we supposed to do? And they weren't supposed to be executed. You left blanks. But you're looking at, you know, as many as 15 in a package, and you know, what the heck am I supposed to do? But I do teach my students, first of all, you got to read instructions. That's number one of everything you do. Follow the rules and regulations of your state. That's number two. And number three is 2 executed copies with the borrowers, each borrower, executed copies, and then 1 back to the lender unless otherwise instructed.
2 snaps right there, Carol.
Just like that. Let me tell you, I just did a signing. I don't do too many of these. And there were 6 for one guy. So I said, let's just do all of them. So I pulled out my extras. He's signing away. And when I go to do my QA, he had done the first one correct. And all the other ones, he signed in the wrong spot.
Oh, I wish to cancel?
Yeah, I wish to cancel. And I didn't have any more. So I had to go home. Thank God he was, 10 minutes from me. Go home, print a bunch more, come back and have him redo those because he said, well, I'll just strike it. I said, you can't strike, you can't fix, it's done. So anybody doing right to cancels, we usually can fix anything somewhere on a document, but never on the right to cancel. Don't fix the right to cancel. You need a fresh one.
I might add a little tip for people. I tell my students this, is that it will save you a horrible mistake if you put a little Post-it note over the area that says, I wish to cancel when they're signing. Because I can't tell you how many times over the years I've had people sign where I wish to cancel.
It happens all the time.
All the time.
All the time. A little Post-it note, that's all. Yeah. That'll save it.
I love it.
Thank you guys so much for clarifying.
Yeah, I can see that really helped a lot of people too, Brandy. So thanks for bringing that up. Great question. All right, Sharon Brake, thank you so much for being here. You want to tell us what state you're in and ask your question? See you later, Laura. Sharon Brake, you are muted if you want to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can, sure can. Thanks.
Okay, 1 second.
That's all right, we can hear you.
All right, here's my question about journal entries.
What state are you in, Sharon?
I'm sorry, California.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's my question. Per the NNA, if you are being paid by a signing company, you would not enter the $15 for the acknowledgement or the jurat in the journal. You would put either no charge or 0 where it says fee. And they also told me the only time you would enter a $15 charge, since that's what it is for California in this column, is if you're being paid directly by the client. So I'm a little confused because I've been putting $15 down for all of them.
Laura, you want to take that real quick before you go?
Let me get that quick before I go. That is their opinion. That is not the law. First of all, they're not telling you the law. They're telling you their opinion. And we disagree. I don't disagree very often with the NNA, but I disagree big time with this one. They are being charged $15, whether it's they gave it to me in cash or whether it got paid because it was on their settlement sheet and then I got paid roundabout. They were charged that money. Number one. Number two, I want to track all the notarial value for tax advantage for myself for that part of it, and you have to talk to them CPA if there's a tax advantage for you. And I think that's the cleanest way, is to just always have the fee that they had to pay. And that's why if I run out of money, because I had more notarizations than when I got paid at that $15 a piece, then I go to 0 for the remainder of them. So I have something in every single box.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Great question. Thanks for clarifying, Sharon. Thank you, Laura. See you later. All right. Leyland Robinson, thank you so much for being here. You want to unmute, tell us what state you're in, and ask your question. Is it Leilani Robinson? You have to unmute. Going once. All right, we'll come back to you. Jeanine, thank you for being here. You want to unmute, tell us your state, and ask your question.
Hi, everybody. This is Jeanine from Daleville, Alabama.
All right.
I had an interesting, I wanted to see if I did this correctly. It was something I never ever heard of. What happened was I had a client who called me, found me on Google, came from Florida, and it was in regard to doing a, adoption on video. And the person, when we did the adoption thing on video, I had him to do an acknowledgement because there was no instructions. I wasn't sure what to do. So the first thing that came to my mind, to have him fill out acknowledgement to prove who he say he is, just in case if any questions came up. And so we did the video with the judge and everything, and I stated who I was, and I had my information out in case she wanted to see if I was who I say I was. So I wanted to know, did I do this correctly? Because it was very new, and I one of the ones that didn't shy away from it like the other notaries did. So just get your feedback.
Well, that's interesting. So it's going to be really state specific if you're allowed to do that in Alabama, and I don't know the Alabama law off the top of my head. So I think this would be better, Jeanine, maybe a one-on-one coaching call, maybe even one with Laura, like one of her quick calls, or with the NNA hotline, just to confirm that you're allowed to do it and what the normal expectation would be. What I've heard in other states where you can do this is there's usually really clear instructions on this is what you do. Sometimes you just come on and you just do verbal and you make a notation in your journal and that's it. So I think let's get you some more information on that. Feel free to follow up with me too, Jeanine, and I'll be happy to put you in touch. Just shoot me an email at orders@notarycoach.com.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Matt, thanks for being here. You want to unmute and ask your question, share your story?
Hey guys, Matt from the field today. I don't really have a question, but I want to share an experience I've been having recently, one that you guys have talked about numerous times in recent months regarding the loan signing business, which is exorbitant fees. I've been getting calls lately, particularly from law offices shopping around, and they ask for my fees, and I give them to them, and then they say, well, why are your fees so much lower than everyone else's? And I simply tell them that my fees are the same they were before COVID, and they're the same they are during COVID. So, you know, to your point, the gougers out there aren't going to be working after the pandemic seems to already be happening in the general notary work world. So I just wanted to let everyone know that if you are asking for more than what you think you should, it's going to start to bite you in the butt now. Yes. So you might want to stick to your fee schedule and be fair, folks.
I love that you brought that up, Matt. Thank you for that. So, and I just want to reiterate on loan signings, general notary work, whatever it is, if you choose to price gouge right now, which is just taking advantage of the opportunity, the volume that we have right now, you're really missing out on the longer term relationships. Because these attorneys, you can see, they're already shopping around because they don't like what's happening. So even if they end up using your service, they're probably going to be resentful of it. So if you can just be fair, you get your foot is in the door just because your services are needed right now. And when you have integrity and you show up and do an amazing job and you charge a fair price, which is your normal price, whatever that might be, it really is going to create sustainability in your business. Thank you.
I'm advising my graduates the same. Don't take advantage of this. Don't gouge people, overprice them. You're killing your career, because when all of this comes back, those companies are going to remember who did this to them, and you're not going to be working again. So you've got to maintain, you know, your honor and just doing what you need to do, and, you know, getting a fair fee for it, not taking advantage.
We have an amazing business here, and just having an integrity and just maintaining, I mean, it can make you feel amazing just staying in integrity the entire time. The other thing I want to touch on this, because it's happening, still happening, is, and I know nobody on this call would do it, but I just want you to know what you're up against, is there's some signing agents that are holding documents hostage. They are literally, they'll take a fee of $150 for a signing, and then they get the signing, and they're calling the signing company and asking for $50, $75, even $150 more to get the documents dropped off. It's a disgusting practice, and I encourage, if it's crossing your mind at all, some way to boost your fees, don't do that. Matt, thank you very much, guys. I think we have, it's 1 o'clock, guys. I'm so sorry. We got to wrap up right now. Carol is giving away an Amazon Kindle Fire, one of my favorite toys that I have for all my books, my Audible and everything, plus entertainment. Carol, I'm going to pull it up real quick so we can give that away.
And I'm going to give out my phone number because I would like that person to call so that we can mail it to them, get information. So the number that they need to call is 916-777-7889.
916-777-7889.
Yes.
All right, great. So I'm going to give you guys a chance real quick to register for that right now. This is one Kindle Fire. I'm going to pull up the form right now. We're just going to draw a random number, and that's going to be the winner. So go ahead and get registered there. Jeez.
I'm going to take.
All right, let's see how many people we've got signed up for this thing right now. All right, 121 people. Random number is number 55. So bear with me 1 second and get to 55. 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kaja Donakowski. Kaja Donakowski, you have just won a Kindle Fire from Carol Ray at Notary 2 Pro. And if you didn't get that phone number there, where is it? There it is, 916-777-7889. Call Carol Ray, give her the shipping information. She's standing by for your phone call right now to get that shipped out to you. Carol, thank you so much for doing that. And thank you to everybody who's called in and participated today and just shown up to grow yourself and your business on the Tuesday. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.